Mountain Interval by Robert Frost. To you, who least need reminding, that before this interval of the South Branch under Black Mountains there was another interval, the upper at Plymouth, where we walked in spring beyond the covered bridge, but that the first interval of all was the old farm, our brook interval, so called by the man we had it from in Sale. The Road Not Taken by Robert Frost. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both, and be one traveller, long I stood, and looked down one as far as I could to where it bent in the undergrowth. Then took the other, as just as fair, and having perhaps the better claim, because it was grassy and wanted wear, though as for that the passing there had worn them really about the same. And both that morning equally lay in leaves no step had trodden black. Oh, I kept the first for another day. Yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back. I shall be telling this with a sigh, somewhere ages and ages hence. Two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by. And that has made all the difference. Christmas Trees, A Christmas Circular Letter by Robert Frost. The city had withdrawn into itself, and left at last the country to the country, when between whirls of snow not come to lie, and whirls of foliage not yet laid, there drove a stranger to our yard, who looked the city, yet did in country fashion, in that there he sat and waited till he drew us out a buttoning coats to ask him who he was. He proved to be the city come again to look for something it had left behind, and could not do without, and keep its Christmas. He asked if I would sell my Christmas trees, my woods, the young fir balsams, like a place where houses all are churches and have spires. I hadn't thought of them as Christmas trees. I doubt if I was tempted for a moment to sell them off their feet to go in cars, and leave the slope behind the house all bare, where the sun shines now no warmer than the moon. I'd hate to have them know it if I was. Yet more I'd hate to hold my trees except as others hold theirs, or refuse for them, beyond the time of profitable growth, the trial by market everything must come to. I dallied so much with the thought of selling. Then, whether from mistaken courtesy and fear of seeming short of speech, or whether from hope of hearing good of what was mine, I said, "There aren't enough to be worth while." "I could soon tell how many they would cut. You let me look them over." "You could look, but don't expect I'm going to let you have them. Pasture they spring in, some in clumps too close that lop each other of boughs, but not a few quite solitary and having equal boughs all round and round. The latter he nodded "yes" to, or paused to say beneath some lovelier one, with a buyer's moderation, "That would do." I thought so too, but wasn't there to say so. We climbed the pasture on the south, crossed over, and came down on the north. He said, 1,000. 1,000 Christmas trees? At what a piece? He felt some need of softening that to me. 1,000 trees would come to $30. Then I was certain I had never meant to let him have them. Never show surprise. But $30 seemed so small beside the extent of pasture I should strip. 3 cents, for that was all they figured out apiece. 3 cents so small beside the dollar friends I should be writing to within the hour would pay in cities for good trees like those, regular vestry trees whole Sunday schools could hang enough on to pick off enough. 1,000 Christmas trees I didn't know I had. Worth 3 cents more to give away than sell, as may be shown by a simple calculation. Too bad I couldn't lay one in a letter. I can't help wishing I could send you one. In wishing you, herewith, a Merry Christmas. An Old Man's Winter Night by Robert Frost. All out of doors looked darkly in at him, through the thin frost, almost in separate stars, that gathers on the pane in empty rooms. What kept his eyes from giving back the gaze was the lamp tilted near them in his hand. What kept him from remembering what it was that brought him to that creaking room was age. He stood with barrels round him, at a loss, and having scared the cellar under him in clomping there, he scared it once again in clomping off, and scared the outer night, which has its sounds, familiar like the roar of trees and crack of branches, common things, but nothing so like beating on a box. A light he was to no one but himself, where now he sat concerned with he knew what. A quiet light, and then not even that. He consigned to the moon, such as she was, so late arising, to the broken moon, as better than the sun in any case, for such a charge, his snow upon the roof, his icicles along the wall to keep, and slept. The log that shifted with a jolt, once in the stove, disturbed him, and he shifted, and eased his heavy breathing, but still slept. One aged man, one man can't fill a house, a farm, a countryside, or, if he can, it's thus he does it of a winter night. A Patch of Old Snow by Robert Frost. There's a patch of old snow in a corner that I should have guessed was a blow-away paper the rain had brought to rest. It is speckled with grime, as if small print overspread it. The news of a day I've forgotten, if I ever read it. In the Home Stretch by Robert Frost. She stood against the kitchen sink and looked over the sink out through a dusty window at weeds the water from the sink made tall. She wore her cape. Her hat was in her hand. Behind her was confusion in the room, of chairs turned upside down to sit like people in other chairs, and something, come to look, for every room a house has, parlor, bedroom, and dining room, thrown pell-mell in the kitchen. And now and then a smudged infernal face looked in a door behind her and addressed her back. She always answered without turning. "Where will I put this walnut bureau, lady?" "Put it on top of something that's on top of something else," she laughed. "Oh, put it where you can tonight and go. It's almost dark. You must be getting started back to town." Another blackened face thrust in and looked and smiled, and when she did not turn, spoke gently. "What are you seeing out the window, lady?" Never was I beladied so before. Would evidence of having been called lady more than so many times make me a lady in common law, I wonder? But I ask, what are you seeing out the window, lady? What I'll be seeing more of in the years to come is here I stand and go the round of many plates with towels many times. And what is that? You only put me off. Rank weeds that love the water from the dishpan, more than some women like the dishpan, Joe. A little stretch of mowing field for you. Not much of that until I come to woods that end all. and it's scarce enough to call a view." "And yet you think you like it, dear?" "That's what you're so concerned to know. You hope I like it. Bang goes something big away off there upstairs. The very tread of men as great as those is shattering to the frame of such a little house. Once left alone, you and I, dear, will go with softer steps, up and down stairs and through the rooms, and none but sudden winds that snatch them from our hands will ever slam the doors." "I think you see more than you like to own to out that window." "No, for besides the things I tell you of, I only see the years. They come and go in alternation with the weeds, the field, the wood." "What kind of years?" "Why, latter years, different from early years." "I see them too. You didn't count them?" "No, the further off so ran together that I didn't try to. It can scarce be that they would be in number we'd care to know, for we are not young now. And bang goes something else away off there. It sounds as if it were the men went down, and every crash meant one less to return to lighted city streets we too have known, but now are giving up for country darkness." "Come from that window where you see too much for me, and take a livelier view of things from here. They're going. Watch this husky swarming up over the wheel into the sky-high seat, lighting his pipe now, squinting down his nose at the flame burning downward as he sucks it. See how it makes his nose side bright, a proof how dark it's getting. Can you tell what time it is by that? Or by the moon? The new moon. What shoulder did I see her over? Neither. A wire she is of silver, as new as we to everything. Her light won't last us long. It's something, though, to know we're going to have her night after night, and stronger every night to see us through our first 2 weeks. But, Joe, the stove! Before they go, knock on the window. Ask them to help you get it on its feet. We stand here dreaming. Hurry! Call them back!" "They're not gone yet." "We've got to have the stove, whatever else we want for, and a light. Have we a piece of candle if the lamp and oil are buried out of reach?" Again the house was full of tramping, and the dark door-filling men burst in and seized the stove. A cannon-mouth-like hole was in the wall, to which they set it true by eye, and then came up the jointed stovepipe in their hands. So much too light and airy for their strength, it almost seemed to come ballooning up, slipping from clumsy clutches toward the ceiling. "A fit," said one, and banged a stovepipe shoulder. "It's good luck when you move in to begin with good luck with your stovepipe. Never mind, it's not so bad in the country settled down when people are getting on in life. You'll like it." Joe said, "You big boys ought to find a farm, and make good farmers, and leave other fellows the city work to do. There's not enough for everybody as it is in there." "God!" one said wildly, and, when no one spoke, "Say that to Jimmy here. He needs a farm." But Jimmy only made his jaw recede fool-like, and rolled his eyes as if to say he saw himself a farmer. Then there was a French boy, who said with seriousness that made them laugh, "Ma friend, you ain't know what it is you're ask." He doffed his cap, and held it with both hands across his chest, to make as 'twere a bow. "We're giving you our chances on the farm." And then they all turned to with deafening boots, and put each other bodily out of the house. Goodbye to them. We puzzle them. They think, I don't know what they think we see and what they leave us to. That pasture slope that seems the back some farm presents us, and your woods to northward from your window at the sink, waiting to steal a step on us whenever we drop our eyes or turn to other things, as in the game 10-Step the children play.
Good boys they seemed, and let them love the city. All they could say was, God, when you proposed their coming out and making useful farmers. Did they make something lonesome go through you? It would take more than them to sicken you, us, of our bargain. But they left us so as to our fate, like fools past reasoning with. They almost shook me. It's all so much what we have always wanted. I confess its seeming bad for a moment makes it seem even worse still, and so on, down, down, down. It's nothing. It's their leaving us at dusk. I never bore it well when people went. The first night after guests have gone, the house seems haunted or exposed. I always take a personal interest in the locking up at bedtime, but the strangeness soon wears off. He fetched a dingy lantern from behind a door. There's that we didn't lose, and these. Some matches he unpocketed. For food, the meals we've had no one can take from us. I wish that everything on earth were just as certain as the meals we've had. I wish the meals we haven't had were, anyway. What have you know where to lay your hands on? The bread we bought in passing at the store. There's butter somewhere, too. Let's rend the bread. I'll light the fire for company for you. You'll not have any other company till Ed begins to get out on a Sunday, to look us over and give us his idea of what wants pruning, shingling, breaking up. He'll know what he would do if he were we, and all at once. He'll plan for us and plan to help us, but he'll take it out in planning. Well, you can set the table with the loaf. Let's see you find your loaf. I'll light the fire. I like chairs occupying other chairs, not offering a lady. There again, Joe. You're tired. I'm drunk, nonsensical, tired out. Don't mind a word I say. It's a day's work to empty one house of all household goods and fill another with them 15 miles away, although you do no more than dump them down. Dumped down in paradise we are, and happy. It's all so much what I have always wanted. I can't believe it's what you wanted, too. Shouldn't you like to know? I'd like to know if it is what you wanted, then how much you wanted it for me. A troubled conscience. You don't want me to tell if I don't know. I don't want to find out what can't be known. But who first said the word to come? My dear, it's who first thought the thought. You're searching, Joe, for things that don't exist. I mean beginnings. Ends and beginnings, there are no such things. There are only middles. What is this? This life? Our sitting here by lantern light together amid the wreckage of a former home? You won't deny the lantern isn't new. The stove is not, and you are not to me, nor I to you. Perhaps you never were? It would take me forever to recite all that's not new in where we find ourselves. New is a word for fools in towns who think style upon style in dress, and thought at last must get somewhere. I've heard you say as much. No, this is no beginning. Then an end? End is a gloomy word. Is it too late to drag you out for just a good night call on the old peach trees on the knoll, to grope by starlight in the grass for a last peach the neighbors may not have taken as their right when the house wasn't lived in? I've been looking. I doubt if they have left us many grapes. Before we set ourselves to right the house, the first thing in the morning out we go to the round of apple, cherry, peach, pine, alder, pasture, mowing, well, and brook. All of a farm it is. I know this much. I'm going to put you in your bed, if first I have to make you build it. Come, the light. When there was no more lantern in the kitchen, The fire got out through crannies in the stove, and danced in yellow wrigglers on the ceiling, as much at home as if they'd always danced there. The Telephone by Robert Frost. When I was just as far as I could walk from here today, there was an hour, all still, when leaning with my head against a flower, I heard you talk. Don't say I didn't, for I heard you say, you spoke from that flower on the windowsill. Do you remember what it was you said? First tell me what it was you thought you heard. Having found the flower and driven a bee away, I leaned my head, and holding by the stalk, I listened, and I thought I caught the word. What was it? Did you call me by my name? Or did you say, someone said, come? I heard it as I bowed. I may have thought as much, but not aloud. Well, so I came. Meeting and Passing by Robert Frost. As I went down the hill along the wall, there was a gate I had leaned at for the view, and had just turned from when I first saw you as you came up the hill. We met, but all we did that day was mingle great and small footprints in summer dust, as if we drew the figure of our being less than two, but more than one as yet. Your parasol pointed the decimal off with one deep thrust, and all the time we talked you seemed to see something down there to smile at in the dust. Oh, it was without prejudice to me. Afterward, I went past what you had passed, before we met, and you what I had passed.